Hello again and welcome back to Year 5 of the Religious Education Initiative. This is Week 50, Day 1. Last time, we saw the catastrophic rule of Hezekiah's son Manasseh and his grandson Amon spanning almost 60 years, and then we finally saw Hezekiah's great-grandson Josiah succeed to the throne and begin a return to faithfulness to the Lord. This time we will see the conclusion of this and how thoroughly he repents on behalf of all of Israel, both the northern kingdom and the southern, for the great sins they have committed, destroying all the sites at which the demon gods of the nations had been worshipped, and the altars established by Jeroboam as well. But despite all this, judgment is still coming, as we will see. Then the king sent, and all the elders of Judah and Jerusalem were gathered to him. This is the beginning of chapter 23 of 4th Kingdoms. And the king went up to the house of the Lord, and with him all the men of Judah and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and the priests and the prophets, all the people, both small and great. And he read in their hearing all the words of the book of the covenant which had been found in the house of the Lord. And the king stood by the pillar and made a covenant before the Lord to walk after the Lord and to keep his commandments and his testimonies and his statutes with all his heart and all his soul, to perform the words of this covenant that were written in this book. And all the people joined in the covenant. And the king commanded Hilkiah the high priest, and the priests of the second order, and the keepers of the threshold, to bring out of the temple of the Lord all the vessels made for Baal, for Asherah, and for all the host of heaven. He burned them outside Jerusalem in the fields of the Kidron, and carried their ashes to Bethel. And he deposed the idolatrous priests whom the kings of Judah had ordained to burn incense in the high places at the cities of Judah and round about Jerusalem, those also who burned incense to Baal, to the sun, and the moon, and the constellations, and all the host of the heavens. And he brought out the Asherah from the house of the Lord, outside Jerusalem, to the brook Kidron, and burned it at the brook Kidron, and beat it to dust, and cast the dust of it upon the graves of the common people. And he broke down the houses of the male cult prostitutes which were in the house of the Lord, where the women wove hangings for the Asherah. And he brought all the priests out of the cities of Judah, and defiled the high places where the priests had burned incense, from Geba to Beersheba. And he broke down the high places of the gates that were at the entrance of the gate of Joshua the governor of the city, which were on one's left at the gate of the city. However, the priests of the high places did not come up to the altar of the Lord in Jerusalem, but they ate unleavened bread among their brethren. And he defiled Topheth, which is in the valley of the sons of Hinnom, that no one might burn his son or his daughter as an offering to Molech. And he removed the horses that the kings of Judah had dedicated to the sun at the entrance to the house of the Lord, by the chamber of Nathan-melech the chamberlain, which was in the precincts. And he burned the chariots of the sun with fire. And the altars on the roof of the upper chamber of Ahaz, which the kings of Judah had made, and the altars which Manasseh had made in the two courts of the house of the Lord, he pulled down and broke in pieces, and cast the dust of them into the brook Kidron. And the king defiled the high places that were east of Jerusalem, to the south of the mount of corruption, which Solomon the king of Israel had built for Ashtoreth, the abomination of the Sidonians, and for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, and for Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. And he broke in pieces the pillars, and cut down the Asherim, and filled their places with the bones of men. Moreover, the altar at Bethel, the high place erected by Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin, that altar with the high place he pulled down, and he broke in pieces its stones, crushing them to dust. Also he burned the Asherah. And as Josiah turned, he saw the tombs there on the mount, and he sent and took the bones out of the tomb, and burned them upon the altar, and defiled it, according to the word of the Lord which the man of God proclaimed, who had predicted these things. Then he said, What is yonder monument that I see? And the men of the city told him, This is the tomb of the man of God who came from Judah, and predicted these things which you have done against the altar at Bethel. And he said, Let him be, let no man move his bones. So they let his bones alone, with the bones of the prophet who came out of Samaria. And all the shrines also of the high places that were in the cities of Samaria, which kings of Israel had made, provoking the Lord to anger, Josiah removed. He did to them according to all that he had done at Bethel. And he slew all the priests of the high places who were there upon the altars, and burned the bones of men upon them. Then he returned to Jerusalem. And the king commanded all the people, Keep the Passover to the Lord your God, as it is written in this book of the covenant. For no such Passover has been kept since the days had been kept since the days of the judges who judged Israel, or during all the days of the kings of Israel or of the kings of Judah. But in the 18th year of King Josiah, this Passover was kept to the Lord in Jerusalem. Moreover, Josiah put away the mediums and the wizards and the teraphim and the idols and all the abominations that were seen in the land of Judah and in Jerusalem, that he might establish the words of the law, which were written in the book that Hilkiah the priest found in the house of the Lord. Before him there was no king like him, who turned to the Lord with all his heart and with all his soul and with all his might, according to all the law of Moses, nor did any like him arise after him. Still, the Lord did not turn from the fierceness of his great wrath, by which his anger was kindled against Judah, because of all the provocations with which Manasseh had provoked him. And the Lord said, I will remove Judah also out of my sight, as I have removed Israel. And I will cast off this city which I have chosen, Jerusalem, and the house of which I said, my name shall be there. Now the rest of the acts of Josiah and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? In his days Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, went up to the king of Assyria to the river Euphrates. King Josiah went to meet him, and Pharaoh Necho slew him at Megiddo when he saw him. And his servants carried him dead in a chariot from Megiddo, and brought him to Jerusalem, and buried him in his own tomb. And the people of the land took Jehoahaz the son of Josiah, and anointed him, and made him king in his father's stead. Okay, so we're closing the loop here on a lot of things, because if you recall, in the days of Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, Jeroboam rebelled with the 10 tribes against Rehoboam's rule, and to prevent his people from continuing to go to Jerusalem, and he thought going back and returning to the house of David, he built altars, and he made golden calves, and he told the people that these were the gods that had brought them out of Egypt, and he set them up, one at Bethel in the south of the northern kingdom, and one at Dan in the north of the northern kingdom. And God sent a prophet to Jeroboam at this time, who proclaimed to Jeroboam that God was not pleased, and that a descendant of David, and he even gave the name Josiah, would reign and would one day come and utterly destroy what Jeroboam had built. That prophet ended up disobeying God's commandment, so he died there and was buried in the place, and it's his tomb that Josiah now sees as he is fulfilling the word that this prophet had given. So that's closing one loop. The other loop, this is where we understand how far into evil even Solomon had gone, because we understand that there was still a high place. There were high places and altars that Solomon had built east of Jerusalem. That's on the Mount of Olives, actually, south of the Mount of Corruption, which is called that because it was a place of pagan sacrifice. So those had been there from the time of Solomon until now, but Josiah pulls them down and destroys them and breaks them in pieces and defiles them so that they cannot be used, he intends, as places of worship again. And he keeps the Passover, but Judah has not turned with Josiah back to the Lord. Judah is doing what the king says. They are pretending to worship God externally, but privately in their homes, they are continuing to worship all the host of heaven, all the gods of the nations. So Josiah, it's not clear why he goes and fights Pharaoh Necho, the king of Assyria. There's no need for this. Megiddo isn't even in the area of Judah. So there may be some sense of pride. There may be some sense of even, I've read one source that suggests Josiah took the prophecy that he would die in peace as a guarantee that he couldn't die in war, and became proud, became careless, but he dies. But he dies and is buried in peace. He dies and is buried by faithful people in a faithful way in his own tomb. And we can presume in the tombs of the house of David, and not the private tombs in the garden where his father and grandfather had been buried. This is the last righteous king of Judah. After this, things go bad very quickly. But for now, God bless you all. We'll see you shortly for day 2.